Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are back with a Hotlap and setup video here today. And apologies, I've been lacking on this, been a little bit ill for the past week or so I will be getting back into the swing of things, and these Hotlap and setups are going to be pretty much my main priority. So I know a lot of people find this very useful in terms of learning the track and finding a good baseline for a setup, so I will be doing my best to try and get one of these out, if not every day, every other day. So make sure you subscribe, like the video if you are finding these useful, and consider joining my YouTube membership, because I will be uploading my updated setups in there as the game does evolve, and specifically for league racing, because these setups here I think are going to be a very good baseline when it comes to online. The only thing you really need to think about is maybe adjusting the tyre pressures, because in time trial they are locked into place in the temperatures, and typically online you want to be running slightly lower ones and just making sure it doesn't exceed 107 degrees whatever tyre you are on. But this was a lap out Australia, and wasn't particularly happy with this lap, but this setup here was definitely tailored a lot more for a race setup to be much more usable online, because this track is very much hit and miss. You really need to take a lot of risks to get a good lap, and that usually requires an oversteer setup. So we went for a bit more stability. I found this to work very, very well online. So as we start the lap, heading into turn one, I'm going to be looking at this black box. Once I go past that, that is kind of my reaction for the braking and turning in. Make sure you kiss this curb. Do not mount this curb, otherwise it will spit you out. And on this one, put pretty much all the car on the curb, but leave the right tyre on the track. If you touch the line, it will auto spin you with the right tyre. Coming down to here, keep it in 7th gear, let the engine braking do the work, and really, once you get to just before the 100-meter board, that is your braking point. Very slow downshift into the 3rd gear just to maintain stability. Use all the track, aim for the black box on the right hand side, kiss the cup on the inside, use all the track, and again, leaving the left wheel on the track. If you hit that yellow line, you will lose control. Aiming for the black box here, just before you get there, that's your turning in point, completely flat out, kissing the curb on the inside. This one is a very difficult kind of reference point, but this one, just before you get to the 100-meter board, and once the wheel is straight, that's where I start braking, turning in, kissing this curb on the inside, use all the track on the outside, and you want to be using all wheels off the track on this one. As you can see, right up against the white line. Make sure you get prepared for the DRS, because it is slightly different on this game. As we come through here, here's the DRS line. Prepare yourself for this very fast left-right chicane. As we go through into this, looking at the black box, once you go past that, that is my braking and turning in point. Once we go through into here, make sure you kiss this curb on the inside. So a bit of a slow in, fast out approach for the chicane. Once you go past that middle of the track, that is then your turning point. But for this right-hander, you need to cut this quite a lot, and you need to get the whole car over this curb. If you do a little bit, you will actually lose more control and you'll lose momentum. Use track on the outside, make sure you get in the DRS, and we did that actually pretty nicely. As you come into this corner here, really just before the 50-meter board, so I say about 60 meters out or so, that's where you want to be braking, kissing the curb on the inside. Use the track on the outside, but only about half of the car. Any more than that, that will unsettle the car and upset the traction. As you come into this one, looking just as this barrier finishes, so you can see that orange barrier. Once you go past that turning point, you don't even really need a brake through here, just a little lift, keeping it in 5th gear. Use all the track on the right hand side. Bit of a difficult reference point, but once my right tyre is very close to the edge of the track, that's where I start braking, kissing this curb on the inside, and then going for this one, you don't want to drift anywhere more than the middle of the track, so no more than that, because you want to keep the momentum going as much as you possibly can, and then staying in 4th gear just to maximize that traction torque, getting the DRS, and coming across the line. This is 16.4, which I was fairly content with. There's a setup I'm using was definitely a lot more for stability, so overall I was quite content with that, and that was enough for being 66th for the world out of 71,000 players in the top 100. Definitely quite a bit of time, I think, still in the lap though. As we look at the setup, 30, 28 wings. Seems to be a slightly higher front wing is more preference in this game. The differential is 50 on throttle, 50 off throttle. Didn't show it here, but that is exactly what I was using. So 30, 28 wings. And then as we skip onto geometry, minus 2.8, minus 1, 0.04, 0.14. Pretty standard in this game. Seems to be working really well at most of the tracks. And then once we move over to suspension, which we will be seeing in a second, pretty much a pretty familiar standard layout in terms of how the suspension is structured in this game. So a high front suspension, a lower rear suspension. So 28, 8, 6, 1, 33, 36. So yeah, the suspension doesn't really seem to be fluctuating a huge amount in this game. I will be doing a setup explanation video very soon. 100% and 53% brakes. And then the tire pressures. In time trial, they're not going to make a huge difference, but when it comes to online, I would advise you probably starting fairly low. Something like this would probably work quite well, but this is going to be a lot of trial and error. Depends on what kind of league race you do, what kind of tires you're using in the race, but you really don't want to be exceeding 107 degrees on most tires. Operating between 90 and 105 degrees is really the sweet spot for most of these tires. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video if you have found this useful. Consider subscribing because I will be doing a lot more of these and I will be looking to get these out on a much more frequent basis. League racing starts next week, which I'm very excited for. Also head over to www.coachlimitless.com if you'd like a direct one-to-one 90-minute session of me. I do this on all platforms, so if you're really looking to hit your potential, it'd be an absolute pleasure to help you. Thank you so much for support, and I'll be catching you very, very soon. Peace.